Well, hello there! Welcome to your very first classical guitar lesson. We'll cover some basics today, including accessories, posture, technique, and a little bit about how this instrument works. So by the end of this video, you'll have a general understanding of the essential things you need to know to get started with classical guitar. There are some basic accessories I recommend having even before you get started. And they're going to be a metronome, which is going to help you practice timing. You're going to need a tuner to keep your guitar in tune, because you're going to tune your classical guitar all the time, every time you pick it up. And I also recommend having some small non-slip mats like these. You can find them in music shops or house decor shops, or I think they are also sold as like car accessories. And then you're gonna need an armless chair, preferably with no back, so you can move freely when you're practicing the guitar. And I also recommend having a little arm sleeve, something like this, because when you're wearing a t-shirt when you're practicing, your skin can like stick to the guitar, and it's just not very easy to move your right hand around. And wearing something like this is gonna give you all the freedom you need to move your right hand. And finally, you're going to need a music stand. Practicing with a music stand will allow you to stay in the right posture, right? Just imagine that you lay down your sheet music in front of you on a coffee table. You're gonna find yourself constantly leaning over, leaning forward, and that's not gonna be good for your neck and for your back, right? Okay, now let's take a look at your guitar, or my guitar in this case. I'm going to take a look at my guitar. So the guitar has 6 strings, and each of these strings has basically a name. So from the thinnest to the thickest, they are named E, B, G, D, A, and E again. And the names of the strings are basically the same as the notes they play when they're open. Now, open strings mean picking a string without pressing down on any frets, like this. This is an open E, this is an open B, and so on. Okay, now let's talk about the frets briefly. They are going to be the little metal strips that run across the neck of your guitar, and you'll likely have 19 of them. And when you press a string down behind a fret or next to a fret, it shortens the length of the string, raising the pitch of the note. So the further up the neck you go, the higher the pitch gets. Okay, so we have the open G again. And if I start going up, as the length of the string basically gets shorter, the higher the pitch gets. Okay, makes sense, right? Now, classical guitar is all about the proper posture, and it's going to allow you an efficient playing, so make sure you're sitting up straight. And as you can see, I'm holding the guitar in this angled position with maybe a roughly 45-degree angle. And to achieve this, you can use something called a footstool to raise your left leg slightly, but I personally recommend something else. The thing I'm using is called a guitar lift, and it allows you to hold the guitar in this angled position while having a straight spine and both legs on the ground, because the goal is to find a posture that allows you to play in a more or less relaxed way, right? Now, if you have nothing like these, like any of these options, don't worry about it. You can try to achieve this posture with a pillow maybe until you get the proper accessories. But still, I highly recommend you to try a guitar lift. It's a game changer. Now let's move on to your hands. First, we'll talk about your right hand or picking hand. Okay, so when you're playing classical guitar, you want your right hand to be very relaxed, or as relaxed as it possibly can be, with your fingers gently curled. And the ideal position for playing is to stay as close to the strings as possible, because you're gonna pluck them all the time, right? So you need to stay close to be efficient. And a good way to find a nice position for your right hand is to make contact with the upper curve of the guitar with your elbow. And hold your hand like you're holding a little ball, something like this, very gently, because it's a foam ball. You don't want to crush it. It's a foam ball. And without moving your elbow much, or as little as you can, rotate your hand and bring it above the strings, something like this. Okay, so we hold the ball and we bring it above the strings. And now imagine that your hand is the perfect continuation of your lower arm. You want to keep your wrist more or less straight. Okay. Now, depending on the length of your lower arm, you may need to adjust it a little bit, but this is a good way to find a position. See, my wrist is straight and I bring it just above the strings like this. And when you pick with your right hand, try to keep it steady and don't let it bounce like this. This is a bouncing hand. Try to keep it steady. See, this part of my hand is badly moving. Think about this. The movement starts from the base knuckles, and the direction of the picking with the fingers is more like towards the palm, and with the thumb we're picking right in front of or on the left of the index finger. Okay. So we're kind of like targeting the palm, and this is going to help you to keep a steady, relaxed right hand. You don't want it to bounce. So once again, the thumb is on the left, picking like that, and these guys are going to target the palm. And this part is not really moving. The movement starts from the knuckles, allowing me to have a steady right hand. See? As for the left hand, we're going to be pressing the strings down on the fretboard. Okay, so make sure your thumb is placed comfortably on the back of the neck. Don't squeeze the neck with it. Just try to lightly touch it, okay? And these fingers are gonna be curved and pressing the strings firmly, not too hard. And once again, like the same thing applies what we said about the right hand, that we want a relaxed, straight wrist position. So if you look at my hand, you see it's more or less straight. And obviously some chords will require to turn your wrist a little bit around, but this is just a general position that you want to find your way back to every time. Okay, sometimes you will leave it and then be sure to come back as soon as you possibly can. And like I said earlier, you're going to need to curl your fingers a little bit, and you will need to use the very tip of your finger to fret the notes. Okay, so something like this. And the perfect position to fret a note is gonna be right next to the fret. Because if you press really far from it, or like closer to the other fret, it's gonna start buzzing. That's not clear. But if you go close to the fret, it's gonna sound clear. So keep your wrist straight, curl your fingers, use the very tip of the finger to press, and always be sure to press right next to the fret. Okay, and finally, don't let your fingers collapse like this. Okay, something like this. So putting all those things together, I think a good playing position would look something like this. And as you can see, my shoulders are relaxed and kinda symmetrical. And it's really important not to lean forward or rotate your torso when you play. Sometimes you want to have a better look or want to fix something and we start to alter our body. Don't do that. Always bring the guitar to your body, not the other way around. Okay, find good postures first, find good movements and feelings, and then bring the guitar into that system. Alright, so this was the quick setup, and it should be just enough to get you started without getting too confused, I hope. And as for what's next, I recommend checking out the video that's gonna pop up on the screen about how to read sheet music, and the other one to understand how the fretboard works. but I also put together a full playlist for beginner guitarists, and in each videos I go more deeply into specific topics like nails, tone, right hand technique, stretching, and many more stuff. It'll all be on the screen probably, but also surely in the description too, so check it out. And also, thank you Till for sponsoring this video, and you guys don't forget to use my code for a discounted online guitar lesson on Till. Yeah, and if this was helpful, consider supporting my work on Patreon and check out the description for more resources. And that's about it. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.